Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. The hostage situation at a Butte bus station ends with shots fired and a suspect surrendering after 10 hours of negotiation.
Now, officers on scene since early this afternoon, where the suspect initially held one man hostage before a standoff with authorities and the suspect suggesting he had a bomb.
The standoff at the Butte transfer station lasting into the night, where the man was holed up in a bus that was originally destined for Billings.
The incident began on a Jefferson Lines bus that was traveling between Billings and Missoula. A man armed with a handgun ordered the bus to stop in Butte. The man then ordered everyone except for the passenger out of the bus, and the standoff began. Butte police say the man also claimed to have some kind of explosive device. Heavily armed police officers took up defensive positions around the bus, and the local SWAT team was also called to the scene.
The suspect held the passenger hostage for about 3 hours until finally releasing him. According to the Montana Standard, the situation ended about a half hour ago when officers with guns focused on the man, made him remove his clothing and also remove what appeared to be bombs strapped to his legs before he was taken into custody. Now, we're still finding out more. You can follow us on air and online for the very latest developments on this story.
In other news tonight, erratic driving and a high-speed chase potentially helped save a Helena woman's life and put her alleged captor behind bars. It all started Tuesday morning. Court documents state law enforcement received reports of a vehicle driving erratically near Townsend. But when officers attempted to pull the car over, the female driver did not stop and continued for about 10 miles onto I-90 before the vehicle was stopped with spike strips. Now, officers say that's when the woman got out of the car and ran towards them. The suspect, 28-year-old Thomas Lucero, appeared in Gallatin County Court this morning. He is charged with aggravated kidnapping and assault with a weapon. The victim told officers she had been in a relationship with Lucero for a few weeks. On Tuesday, she said Lucero ordered her to drive him to Billings. While Lucero slept, she says she kept the speed of the vehicle reasonable but swerved toward oncoming traffic while flashing her lights, hoping someone would notify authorities.
Family members of missing and murdered Native Americans came to Helena today to advocate for a package of bills intended to help address the crisis. MTN's Jonathan Amberian looks at some of the proposed legislation.
On Wednesday, people from around Montana gave emotional testimony about how they've been affected by what they call an epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous people, many of them women and children.
It's a crisis, and we're reaching out to you guys now, asking you guys for help.
Many of those in attendance wore red, a color that has come to symbolize missing and murdered Indigenous women. Representative Ray Peppers of Lame Deer is sponsoring 2 bills in a package of legislation designed to help resolve these cases.
And they're asking for our support as legislators to step up for them and look for justice.
One of the proposals is House Bill 21, known as Hannah's Act. It would create a missing persons specialist in the Montana Department of Justice to work closely with other agencies on missing persons cases. The bill is named after Hannah Harris, a Lame Deer woman found murdered in 2013 after being missing for 5 days. Her mother, Melinda Harris Limberhand, was among those testifying for the bill.
We need somebody to come in and help us out. I'm trying to do my part also by standing up and speaking for the people who have lost their loved ones.
Another bill, House Bill 54, would require law enforcement agencies to open a report without delay when someone is reported missing, and add those reports to a national crime database as soon as possible. Paula Castro Stopp's daughter, 14-year-old Henny Scott, was missing for 3 weeks before her body was found.
If these limitations are put in place, I believe my daughter would have been found alive.
After the hearing, more than 100 people gathered in the rotunda for a rally to highlight the issue of missing and murdered women. Family members then joined Governor Steve Bullock for a news conference. Those who came to testify say they'll do whatever they can to make sure this issue isn't forgotten.
We are the voice, and we will not be silenced anymore.
In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
The committee also heard a bill that would allow tribal court convictions for domestic violence to be counted as prior offenses for sentencing purposes. They did not take any immediate action on any of those proposals.
Well, the heat is on for lawmakers hoping to avoid another government shutdown in just 2 weeks. As February 15th approaches, members of both the House and Senate are barreling forward to try and find common ground legislation that secures the border and keeps the government open. Now, that 17-member bipartisan panel was announced last week, shortly after President Trump signed off to end the 35-day shutdown. However, despite the impacts of the last shutdown, the president has cautioned that if no agreement is in place by the deadline, the government will shut down again, or the president will declare a national emergency in order to obtain money for his proposed border wall. Both parties believe in the need for more border technology, staffing, and overall security, but the idea of a wall still divides lawmakers.
Montana U.S. Senator Jon Tester is one of the members of that bipartisan committee trying to find a solution to border security funding and prevent what could be another government shutdown. The senator told me this afternoon that lawmakers sent a clear message during the hearing that they want to work together and find a compromise. Will that compromise include the wall that President Trump is insisting on? Here's what he said about that.
Well, I think that a wall might be a part of the equation. A fence might be a part of the equation in the end. I think that's part of the negotiations. I think we also have to look at the cost and not make the American taxpayer use them like an ATM machine. So I think that there is a possibility the end result may have some wall. It may have some additional manpower. It may have some additional technology. But how that's broke down at this point in time, I really can't say, Russ. That's going to be part of the conversation moving forward and part of the compromise.
President Trump was quoted as saying that he puts the odds of lawmakers reaching a deal at less than 50%. Senator Tester told me he thinks the chances are much better than that no one wants another shutdown. The main question being whether the president will sign off on any compromise that is reached.
Well, parts of the Midwest dipped to the coldest temperatures in a generation today with a wind chill. It felt like 75 degrees below zero in Grand Forks.
Yeah, there have been at least 9 weather-related deaths now. CBS News correspondent Kenneth Craig has more on the record-breaking cold from New York.
Mangled cars and trucks filled a highway in central Pennsylvania Wednesday afternoon. 27 vehicles crashed when a snow squall swept through. 9 people were taken to a local hospital, 2 in critical condition.
When I look around, there was piles of cars, one over each other in trucks.
Near whiteout conditions also made driving dangerous in Buffalo, New York. A crash involving more than 20 vehicles shut down the New York State Thruway in western New York. The snow caused plenty of problems, but the cold was more of a concern in many areas. Firefighters faced minus 20 degrees in Hammond, Indiana. On the University of Iowa campus in Iowa City, a first-year pre-med student was found dead in the cold Wednesday morning. The weather delayed or canceled thousands of flights. In some communities, even mail service was suspended for the day. It hit minus 30 in Minneapolis, still not frigid enough to keep everyone inside.
I mean, look at it. It's sunny outside today. I see like 2 clouds in the sky. We're out here doing yard ornaments. We don't care. We're Minnesota and we're going to do whatever we got to do to have some fun.
3, 2, 1.
A meteorologist in Green Bay, Wisconsin showed what happens to boiling water when exposed to minus 20. Not the kind of day to enjoy noodles outside in Chicago. Kenneth Craig, CBS News.
All right, turning to our weather now. Well, many of us were focused on that polar vortex. It's been hitting the eastern side of the nation. We've got another storm system heading our way.
I know, this is really sad because we're going to have very nice warm weather for the next couple of days, but then a new trend is moving in. This is how it starts. We got a brand new computer model, and this is it right here. As you can see, this is where we're at 6:30 p.m. Friday. That's when that starts, and then watch what happens. By the time Saturday gets here, by Saturday at midnight, we're looking at the rain and snow starting to make its way into the Billings area. Most of western Montana looking at snow. Then all on Sunday, all snow all over the place, every spot in Montana. On Monday, more snow in the west, some of it reaching to the Billings area. By Tuesday, more snow all over the state again, and then by Wednesday, this stuff starts to pull out of here. So how much snow are we talking about? Well, as you'll see here, by Saturday, we're looking quite a bit, and then by Wednesday, we get all the way up to 6 to 10 inches of snow all the way across the state. Some cases, maybe like Jordan and Great Falls, could see maybe up to 14 inches of snow. Same thing with Bozeman. We'll see if that happens. That's a long-range trend. We'll see if that does come true. Let's go back to the desk.
All right, thanks, Bob. One Billings man was lucky to get into last night's Bob Seger concert after he arrived at the arena with fake tickets.
This is the ticket receipt. The seats were paid for and everything seemed normal until he tried to use the tickets at the front door.
Last night's situation with the Seeger show, we had a person buy a ticket, third party. The ticket was no good and it cost them $270. Fortunately, good story, the Seeger people came up and said, we can find seats for them. We will put these people in the house. And they were able to get seated. That doesn't happen a lot.
Massey says while there are reputable third-party ticket vendors, you do need to do your research.
He adds it's always better to buy through the website metropark.com. That way you know the tickets are good, and if there are any issues, they can help you out.
Glad they still got to see the concert.
Too.
Coming up on tonight's 10 o'clock news, this Montana woman has a stake in the cattle industry. Find out her big promotion.
Plus, watching the big game on a big screen makes it all the more fun. We'll look at some of the top TVs this season.
And in sports, is Tony Romo psychic or just good at predicting plays? Scott chats with him, and Jim Nantz will be calling Sunday's Super Bowl right here on Q2 Sunday.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.